Hey guys, Ashrak here, and today we're looking at another action figure video. This time we're looking at why Mafex is my absolute favorite action figure line. For me, as an action figure collector, action figures are tangible, three-dimensional representations of my favorite pop culture characters. Characters that I can collect, pose, and display on my shelf and in my collection. These figures serve as a way to recreate all my favorite comic book and movie moments in physical form, as well as creating new moments and poses for these characters for myself. In 2022 and beyond, we have so many options and action figure lines we can collect and choose from. For me, as a DC fan, I have the option to collect classics like Mattel's DC action figure lines, like the DC Select Sculpt series, the DCUC, and the Multiverse line. We have DC Collectibles, DC Direct action figure lines, such as DC Essentials, DC Icons, and the Designer series. And more contemporarily, I can choose to collect McFarlane's DC Multiverse line, Mezco's DC action figure line, DC's Amazing Yamaguchi figures, as well as SS Figure Art DC figures. And also, I can choose to collect Mafex's Amazing DC action figure line. All these action figure lines have something unique to offer and something amazing to sell to us customers. However, with all the lines that I can go out and buy today, whether it be pre-owned or brand new from store shelves, Mafex has become my absolute favorite action figure line in 2022 and beyond. For me, Mafex lured me in with the Batman Hush action figure line. Back in late 2022, the blue version of Batman Hush was released, and I bought the action figure just to make a video review on my channel. And if you're interested to see that review and my thoughts back then, please find the review here. But my initial thoughts and receptions of the figure was a bit lukewarm. I found the action figure to be a bit too lean and the cape to be too big to be manageable. But other than that, I absolutely enjoy the action figure. However, as I have added more Mafex action figures to my collection and I have had more time with these action figures, my opinion about Mafex has changed drastically and for the better. Something about these Mafex action figures just seemed to catch my eye. Maybe it's the aesthetics of the action figure that always looks on point and the accuracy to the source material of the action figures. All of these action figures also scale very well and look very nice together, and it looks like a very cohesive display. Or maybe it's the posability of the action figure and all the options we get with additional heads, hands, and different parts. Whatever it is, Mafex has been doing an amazing job where the action figures just look like they should, and the gravity they have when displayed on the shelf is second to none in my opinion. My current favorite Mafex action figures are the Mafex Hush series and the Mafex The Dark Knight Returns series of action figures. Action figures from these series are not exclusive to Mafex. These action figures have been produced by Mattel, DC Direct, McFarlane, and even Mezco. So this gives us a really fun opportunity to compare these action figures and hopefully see the difference in what these companies offer. So to start things off, we have the Mafex DKR Batman standing up next to a very heavily customized version of the Mattel Dark Knight Returns Batman. I had to customize this Mattel figure because it looked a little bit too dopey for me, and I think that it looks far better now. I know that the head color is a little bit off and it doesn't match the body, which I need to fix later on. But the Masters of the Universe body does lend well to the Dark Knight Returns look and feel, but it's a reused and recycled body that fits Batman rather than a body like we have with the Mafex figure that was purposely built for Batman. The differences are very evident. Even without the consideration for articulation, the Mattel Batman action figure has a less accurate face sculpt. His hands look a tad small for the rest of the body, and anatomically the abs look very square and flat. And more importantly, the Mafex action figure just looks better put together and meets my accuracy and posing needs. Here we can see all the other figures from this line that I have from Mafex and Mattel, so you can have a quick look. Here we have the McFarlane Dark Knight Returns line of action figures. These 7-inch action figures are the more contemporary, mass market alternatives that we have access to as collectors. This might be a personal preference, but with McFarlane, I always find the silhouettes of the action figures to be all over the place. Like, none of these action figures look uniform, and they don't look like they belong to the same series of action figures, if that makes any sense. With Mafex, they look more homogeneous, so it's easy to spot they're from the same line, and they work cohesively. Although Mafex has its share of problems as well, like how Superman should absolutely not be shorter than Batman, the cohesiveness of this action figure line is a lot better. However, the McFarlane line of action figures does come with an amazing Build-A-Figure horse, which does add to a lot of playability, but it's still not the same because the figures are lacking in a lot of alternate hands, heads, accessories, everything. Mezco has an excellent Dark Knight Returns Batman action figure. I consider this action figure to be a Grail action figure, and I still am not able to get a factory version of this action figure. I bought this figure on the secondary market and I had to fashion a suit for him myself. The action figure captures the bulk and intensity of the Dark Knight Returns Batman, and it was an absolutely amazing figure, which is the first figure that Mafex ever produced, so it's amazing for how they started. It was so impressive that with this action figure, I had made customs in the Mezco style of action figures from the Dark Knight Returns series using Marvel Legends as the base figure bodies. So I've got the Superman here as well as another version of Batman here as well. And the only issue with this action figure line is it's incomplete. We can choose from a bunch of different Batmans in this action figure line, but we never got a Superman, Carrie Kelly, or Joker, or anyone else from the line of action figures other than the Mutant Leader. So it is a really good action figure, but it's just an incomplete line. Mafex, on the other hand, they've produced Batman, Joker, different versions of Batman, Superman, Carrie Kelly, and I think they'll probably continue to do more, and I'm really excited to see what's next. Next up, we've got the DC Direct figures, and they have a completely different approach to the Dark Knight Returns line of action figures. These figures were more akin to a posable statue than a true action figure. If you look at Batman here, he's in a permanent crouch position, and the articulation in the knees don't allow Batman to stand up straight, and if moved, he will not stand at all. With regards to the Joker, his arms do not allow any articulation at the elbows, so he's in a constantly flamboyant state. These action figures, however, are very accurate to the source material, and they have a lot of likeness, all the details, everything, but they lack posability, and that's a definite negative in my book. As we can see with all these different Dark Knight Returns action figures from the same source material, all the companies' approach to these action figures are very different. With Mafex, they may not be the most accurate in terms of head sculpts. This, I think, goes to DC Direct, or the most amount of characters to select from the series. I think this belongs to Mattel DC Multiverse. They pose brilliantly together and look darn amazing while they're at it. Now, it may seem like I'm taking a dump on all these other action figure lines, but that's not the case. Mafex is my favorite action figure line at the moment, but as good as Mafex action figures are at the moment, they're still in no way, shape, or form providing an extensive list of character selections like we had with DCUC or even DC Direct. And for any collector that has been collecting for a while, we want to collect more than the Batmans and the Supermans of the collectibles world. In saying that, there are plenty of action figures that play well with Mafex and provide us with an opportunity to mix and match our collection. For me personally, I find that the DC Icons line is a pretty good match for Mafex. The aesthetics are somewhat similar and the scale works pretty decently in a pinch. The later versions of the DC Icons line does scale a little bit better than the earlier versions because the earlier versions were a little bit too small, but I think that the DC Icons line is a really good place to start if you want to mix and match. Mattel's DCUC and DC Multiverse action figures are also a very complementary line as figures scale well, and although DCUC is missing some of the more contemporary characters, DCUC possibly has the most extensive character selection out there to date. I find that the more big and more alien characters like Darkseid, Doomsday, Clayface, and the like can be part of any collection, as these characters are depicted in a variety of sizes and scales. Even with the McFarlane figures and the Megafigs that are coming out at the moment, those can scale very well with Mafex if it's a big character. So with so many options and opportunities at the moment, there are so many ways we can mix and match in our collection. Mafex are going strong with their comic book lines, and I'm very excited for the future with all the characters slated to come out. The Hush line is the forefront of my desires, and I've already placed pre-orders for Nightwing, Poison Ivy, and Huntress. The Dark Knight Returns line still has room to grow, and we can add a mutant leader into the ranks along with Ollie, who I do not believe has ever been turned into an action figure from the Dark Knight Returns series, so having Ollie finally would be amazing. Death and Return of Superman line is going excellently as well, with the regeneration suit of Superman, Cyborg Superman already on my shelf. I am impatiently waiting for Steel and the possibility of Superman and the Eradicator in the future. With Nightfall, we kicked off the line with Azrael Batman, and Batman and Bane prototypes were shown off at the Mafex toy exhibition, so I'm really hoping for a Catwoman, Robin, and Killer Croc from this line as well. So there's so much to look forward to, and I'm really excited. With so much going on for the Mafex line of action figures and with all the playability and cross-line display options we have in 2023, I'm really excited for what the future holds for us collectors. Mafex is a brilliant line of action figures, not only for DC figures, but also a bunch of other lines and amazing characters such as the Marvel characters, Amazon's The Boys, Star Wars, and even Terminator, amongst others. I'm personally also working on an action figure base body taking heavy inspirations from Mafex. It still requires some articulation tweaks and test prints before we get to the prototype stage, but I'm making a lot of great progress, and you can see snippets of this figure here. But for me, Mafex is an excellent action figure line with a mix of plastic parts and soft goods that delivers an amazing action figure that mimics the comic counterparts of these characters. The large selection of alternate heads and swappable parts also add tremendously to our display options. The uniformity and the self-presence of these action figures are undoubtedly a big plus. And with that being said, Mafex is my favorite action figure line of 2022 and beyond.